Ed Golod here with Speedcast, and I have my unicorn builder, Al West. Al, how are you?
I'm well, Ed. How are you?
I'm good. A little hot. This temperature is getting a little intense for me.
I got you beat down here in Georgia.
I know. I would not want to be in hot Atlanta right now. It's just too hot for me. But
way too hot.
Okay, so today we're talking about build. I like things that you could touch. So I want you to talk about how do you build a B2B company that the businesses or the enterprises will love, not like? How do you do that when you're scaling a unicorn or trying to scale a unicorn?
Well, it's interesting that you use the word love. Love is an emotion, and buying is an emotional thing, or at least it is. When we buy a house, we get emotionally attached. We buy a car, we buy a boat, whatever we're buying, it's an emotional experience.
And you take my wife, it's very emotional.
Very emotional. They get emotionally attached
to everything.
And it's the same with software, believe it or not, or technology or whatever you're selling. There has to be an emotional connect. And when you said build something that someone's going to love, essentially you've got to play to the C-suite. You don't want to be building something that a director or a manager, I mean, yeah, we like them, but they're concerned about their limited view of their job, and they're not looking at it from a business perspective. Typically, you have to connect that dot. You have to solve C-level problems and build something that they're going to love and get very emotionally attached to. And it kind of boils down to what's your value. We talk about the value narrative a lot, but it comes down to saving them money, helping them make money in a new way, faster, keeping them out of trouble. Those types of things are what's going to get a C-level's attention.
So let's drill this a little bit. Let's go a little wider. When they mean love, are we also talking about a market that will love what you have? Because in B2C, when unicorns go up, like with an Uber and a B2C, everybody loves it. Everybody does it. They get millions of customers. You don't do that in B2B. So when you're doing a B2B company and you come on board, like you have done many times, and you know this thing will throttle up into the billions, how do you determine if your product is something the enterprise is going to say, we love this, we need this, let's buy it? Because without that, you don't get acceleration.
Well, it's not rocket science. It's essentially solving a critical business problem for a C-level exec. And if you're able to do that and you have disruption, you're doing it in a new way, and you also solve all of the people's problems below the C-level, like the directors and the managers, they're going to matter. You want to help them be efficient, and you want their life to be better as well. But if you can solve the C-level problem, you're going to get that love factor, like you were saying.
You are right on the money. I have a client situation right now where they're working with some very, very large companies in medical, and they get it. They get it that without the C-level indirect or direct pressure or influence, or I'm interested in this, it goes too slow. And what they have, the C-level love it because it drives a lot of easy lift. So you're right. So to do a unicorn, you need corporation leadership to say, what is it? We could use it. And if this works, this could really be part of our roadmap. I guess that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and the universe that you're going to be selling to, that you're going to give the love factor to, you want to make sure that the universe is, a total universe that's able to buy your solution. It's not too small, maybe not too large, because sometimes you do need to specialize, but you want to make sure that you have an audience that if you make this solution, that it applies to a lot of different people. For instance, we had clients that we helped solve their DSO problem. DSO is a common problem for every public company.
Day sales outstanding, non-accountants, right?
Yeah, so if you can reduce DSO for any public company, you don't have to look at their 10Q or their annual report. It's gonna move the needle for them. If you're gonna get their attention, if you can say, hey, I have a solution that's gonna help you reduce your DSO. You want something that is going to apply to, in this case, every public company, and probably even a lot of non-public companies. They're interested in reducing that DSO because it impacts cash flow and ultimately their stock price.
Are you saying so if a company is selling SaaS, AI-based product platform, and people don't love it, but it's a nice program, it does something in analytics that's good to have, but it's not a game changer? Does that mean they'll never be a unicorn?
Probably so. I mean, just speaking frankly, if they don't have a solution that is solving a critical business issue for a C-level, like we talked about, if they don't have all of these ingredients with that love factor, they're just never going to be a unicorn. They're going to achieve a certain level of growth. And, if they're just one of many that can offer that type of solution like analytics, not to beat analytics, there's a lot of solutions out there that provide a view as to what's happening. The cool thing about the new technologies is they don't stop at just what's happening. They tell you why it's happening and they give you recommendations on how to remediate.
Absolutely. So the takeaway for this call, this is a good one. The takeaway is, if your market is receptive and if you're in market or breaking market and you have a product that's not a nice to have, but it's not a must to have, and maybe the C-level doesn't consider it strategic to make them a lot of money, which they love, then therefore don't give up. You don't have to be $1.5 billion, but learn from the unicorns. And now people are listening like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't really get, like, what do I do now? What's the love factor? Here it's from Al West's own mouth. They have to love your product. And if they don't, it could be because you love it too much. And that's another thing we'll talk about on another day, how founders love their product, but they're not buying it. They're selling it. So it's a misdirected romance.
Absolutely. If the other thing to test is do nothing.
Do nothing.
If it's a solution where do nothing is actually the path of least resistance, and you see that a lot, you're losing to Do Nothing Inc. Those guys are the hardest competitors out there on the battlefield. It's not the competitors that have a competitive offering. It's the status quo. It's Do Nothing Inc. And if that's the path of least resistance, you really have to look at your solution and say, are we really solving a critical business issue or just a nice to have?
Well said. You're a pleasure, my man. This is Ed Golod, a Speedcast with my partner, Al West. And thanks for listening.